What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Jesse. So again, guys, Luis is at work. So for a couple of upcoming videos, it's just gonna be me. I don't know what, like reaction, or comment down below what do you guys want to see me do. I could do some story times. I could do a lot of things, guys. But right now we're gonna react to some scary animations, and not as no more say short film scary animations. This one's by MJV Animations. I do not know any of his content. I'm just gonna react to it. His channel link will be down below. Alright, guys. Well, guys, I know we've been slacking. I know, guys. I know. But guys, we're back. We're gonna be posting more on TikTok and on here, but mostly on here. Alright, guys. Let's get to it. Alright, who's about?
I'm 32, so Halloween isn't exactly as fun and exciting as it used to be. Usually I just put up some decorations, and on Halloween night, I'll hand out candy and spend the evening watching movies. This was in 2022. I spent most of my morning cleaning up my house and picking up candy from the store, preparing for trick-or-treaters that night. Then around 3, I left the door cracked open so I could hear if anyone was approaching. And then I turned on a movie. Our neighborhood isn't really the biggest, so we don't usually get a ton of kids, but this year it felt different. I hadn't had a single trick-or-treater for 2 hours. I got up and looked outside. The whole street was empty and quiet. I guess Halloween isn't as big of a thing as it used to be, but still, I hoped I would get at least a few people, so I stayed ready for any possible stops at my place. It wasn't until 6:30 that I got the first ring at my door.
No wonder why no one was there, bro.
I got up and went to grab the candy bowl when I noticed there was someone looking into the house at me. They were wearing a costume with some kind of white mask that covered everything but their eyes. Obviously, I had left the door cracked open, but it was still weird to be looking into my house like that. I walked over and held out the bowl and told them to take a handful. It was as they reached into the bowl, though, that I realized they were alone. It was just this one person, and something about them seemed off. They were taller than most kids, and when I got a closer look at their eyes, I could tell they were older. The whites of their eyes were bloodshot, and I could faintly see dark circles.
Guys, do you think there's a certain age where you should stop going out and asking for candy? Not me. He wearing a costume, you know, like, hey, okay. Well, maybe like, probably late 30s, early 40s, you guys should stop. But I think, like, there's really no limit. So, you know, but this guy probably looks more older, so.
Under them. I thought it was weird, but I really didn't care too much since no other trick-or-treaters were out. I also didn't want to embarrass them by calling them out. Maybe they were just some older-looking kid. I don't know.
Give me back my candy.
When they walked off, I set the bowl down and went back to the movie. I want to say 15 or so minutes went by before I heard a sound that sounded like a footstep right outside my front door. Thinking it was another trick-or-treater, I got up again. But when I turned around, my heart skipped a beat, seeing a person standing inside my house.
Bro, right there.
It was that same one that was here earlier, with the creepy white mask. He was standing by my front door still, but fully inside my home. "Can I help you?" He stared at me for a really intense few seconds, before he backed out and left the house. I stood in shock for a moment, before I went up to the front door. The person was walking down my driveway, but looked back several times as if they were trying to see if I was watching. I closed the door. Now this was strange. Not only did he enter my home, but why the hell did he come back anyway? I felt like there was no way it could be a kid now, and was almost definitely some creepy guy in a costume with some really disturbing intentions. I didn't feel safe with him wandering the streets on Halloween night with kids around, so I took my phone out to call the police and report him. I heard footsteps approaching the door again, but this time they didn't ring the doorbell or knock or anything. I quietly walked over and looked out the peephole to see who it was and what they were doing. Almost like they knew I was approaching the door, they called out. "Hello? I'm looking for my kid. Have you seen them?"
That's the guy.
"Hello?"
The same legs,
There was a man,
same height.
looking mid-40s, wearing regular clothes, like a brown long-sleeve t-shirt and blue jeans. I didn't quite trust this though, and I'm glad I didn't. The man looked around for a moment, then leaned a little closer to the door. When he did, I could see dark circles under his eyes and could tell they were bloodshot. My face went pale. I backed away and quietly continued the call with the police in the other room. After a few minutes, I went back to check out the front door, and the man was gone.
Check your property, bro.
Police made it a few minutes later, where we quickly found a costume with a white mask hidden in a bush on the side of my property, clearly having been taken off in a rush. This was the man's attempt to pretend he was someone else.
Damn, dude, that's
Unfortunately, they weren't able to find the man that night though. I just really hope he wasn't able to follow through on whatever he was intending to do that night. Obviously, with his strange behavior, showing up to my house 3 times and pretending to be someone looking for his kid, he definitely had something disturbing planned.
Okay, guys, I think that was a pretty good one. You know, gotta be a lesson learned to keep your door locked. Especially on Halloween, he had it cracked open. Like, bro, what's wrong with you, bro? Keep it locked. Alright, this is story number 2.
It was late October. I was a sophomore at university and lived in my dorm room with a girl named Kylie. She was a good roommate, everything considered, though we didn't always talk much. She was very social, and I was more closed off. Come Halloween weekend, though, she invited me to come to a party with her at a friend's house. She really thought I'd have fun and maybe make some new friends. Plus, it was at an actual house, so I wouldn't be cramped up in a dorm room all night. I initially rejected the offer, but after a bit of convincing, I decided to go. I picked up a really awful-looking ghost costume at Spirit Halloween, and at 8, Kylie ordered an Uber to drop us off at her friend's place. It was about 10 minutes from campus, but this wasn't a very big town, so it felt like we were in a whole new area. It was basically an empty road, with just this one large house on it. There were orange lights strung all over the outside, and tons of blow-up Halloween decorations. We headed inside, and it was surprisingly not that crowded. There were maybe 10 or 15 people around my age. Anyway, we drank and played some games for several hours. It was actually kind of fun, and I was happy I went. By 1 a.m. though, I was tired and burnt out. I found Kylie and asked if she wanted to go, but she was too drunk and said she was just gonna spend the night. I didn't feel comfortable enough with any of the others to ask for a ride, especially since they were drunk and mostly all dudes. I stood outside while trying to figure out what to do. I opened up the Uber app, but I really wasn't trying to spend $30 for a 10-minute ride. Not to mention, I probably barely even had $30 in my bank account. I was definitely a little tipsy too, which certainly fogged my judgment. I ended up saying screw it, and decided I could just walk back to campus. A 10-minute car ride must be like a 35 to 40-minute walk, or at least that's what I thought. I headed down the road, leaving the bright lights of the house, and very quickly getting into the barren, dark, and eerie section of the road. The streetlights were spread out really far, so I'd be in the light for a minute, then walk in the dark for several minutes before reaching the next light. It was pretty soon into the walk, though, that I noticed a car behind me. It was odd because it seemed like they were parked on the side of the road, which I know I never walked past them. But every few minutes, when I'd look back, they had moved further down the road toward me. I tried to keep an eye on them, But at one point, I looked back and had suddenly lost sight of them. It was a bit foggy out, but I don't know where they went. Maybe they turned around. I kept walking, but increasingly got more uneasy, feeling like I was being watched from somewhere.
But you probably are. Probably
5 minutes went by as I kept walking along the side of the road before I heard a car engine behind me. I turned around and saw a car coming through the fog, and their headlights were off. They were slowing down too, and came rolling to a stop right beside me. There was a man in the front seat with a patchy beard and a strange smile. "Where are you heading? It's a bit late to be walking out here alone." I just said I was okay and kept on walking, but the man inched forward in the car, matching my pace and staying right beside me. "I'll give you a lift. You really shouldn't be out here." He yelled through his window, but through his voice, I could tell there was something different about him. As I started to say no thanks, I looked over at him. His smile was gone, and his face was tense. His eyes stared at me with an aggression, like he wasn't giving me a choice. I stuttered over my words as the man suddenly stopped the car and swung his door open. He started quickly getting out, and just then, a pair of headlights broke through the fog. Another car was coming down the road. I sprinted to the middle of the street and started waving my arms for them to stop, and the creepy man went right back into his car. As the other cars started to slow down, the man sped away. It turned out to be one of the guys from the party on his way home, though I only recognized his face. I didn't even know his name. I told him what happened, and he gave me a lift back to campus. I don't think I'd ever sobered up faster than when that guy jumped out of his car, but honestly, if nobody had come to help, I probably would have been on the missing persons list right now, with zero evidence on where I could be.
Alright guys, end the story. That was a pretty good one too, but guys, again, a lesson has to be learned. Always keep a weapon on you. You will in this small, make it still be effective. Alright guys, now we're on to story number 3. Hi guys, during the video,
it was Halloween day.
Like, share,
I was in 8th grade at the time, and my friend group felt like this year we were a little too old to be trick-or-treating. This would be the first year that we weren't going out though, and being that the previous 10 years we'd always trick-or-treat on Halloween, we were left without anything to do. I mean, we didn't know what else there really was to do. Most of my group decided to just stay home and chill. Maybe hand out candy or whatever, but me and my best friend Tyler thought otherwise. We wanted to do something, literally anything. That night, I went over to Tyler's place, and we came up with a plan to explore somewhere he'd heard about. To the best of our knowledge, it was some kind of abandoned tunnel or underground mine or something that was abandoned in the woods just a few miles south of our town. Now, I'd heard of it briefly before too, but neither of us really knew what it was. Tyler was able to get some directions from a buddy of his, so with the plan set, we hopped on our bikes and rode to the other side of town. There were a lot of people out, walking around, but very few cars. As we got closer to the woods, there were way less houses, and obviously way less people as well. Both of us kind of expected other kids to have the same idea as us, so not seeing anyone out here only made us more excited. We locked up our bikes around a nearby tree, then headed down a small footpath that was right where Tyler's friend said it would be. This was very clearly not a real trail, and just something that formed from other people going this way. It was muddy, overgrown, and really easy to accidentally lose track of. Several times we had to stop and turn around to figure out where the path was.
If you have to do that, then just go back.
Obviously, it was dark out, and Tyler only had one flashlight at his place, so I was just following close behind him as he lit up the way.
A flashlight?
I want to say it took about 40 minutes of walking for us to finally reach a clearing in the trees. On the other side of the clearing, there was the entrance to the tunnel. It was a small hole going into the side of a hill, and from that far, it was just completely pitch black beyond the entrance. We were pretty sure now that it was some kind of old mine, though. Tyler walked up to the opening, and I stayed right behind him. He shined his light in, and it was honestly really creepy. It was extremely dusty and was just this rugged rock tunnel that looked like it was endless. At one point before we entered, I instinctively looked behind us at the woods we came from, and for an instant, I thought I saw something move. It was by one of the trees near the path. I immediately told Tyler to shine his light over there, but when scanning the area, we saw nothing.
He's hiding now.
I didn't know if I was just scaring myself, or if I actually saw something, but being with my buddy gave me a false sense of confidence. Tyler moved the light back into the tunnel, then we both hesitantly stepped in. The dust particles fluttered across the beam of light as we slowly made our way down. It was really quiet in there, and each footstep echoed through the tunnel for an eerie amount of time, almost like it was miles long. We didn't get too far in, though, before we heard something ahead of us. It sounded like a voice. It was quiet, like they were whispering, but the echo carried the sound close enough for us to hear it. Tyler held his light steady as far down the tunnel as it could go, but there was still an endless pit of darkness beyond it. Almost like we read each other's minds, both of us simultaneously pivoted and started quickly walking back toward the opening. As we walked away, I could hear the voices behind us getting louder.
I was scared.
Either they were talking louder, or they were coming up behind us. But every time I looked back, it was entirely darkness, even just 5 feet away. We finally made it to the opening, and just then, Tyler stopped abruptly. Standing just 10 yards away was an unknown man. He was in the middle of the clearing, looking like he was just walking toward the opening we were coming from. Both of us bolted out, straight for the trees. I didn't have the courage to turn around to check if he chased us. Eventually, though, we ran out of breath and slowed down, to which we were able to go in the general direction back to town. As we walked back, we talked about what the hell just happened. What we think is that the man we saw outside the tunnel was likely going to trap us inside, or at least block our way out. I mean, why else would a grown man be alone in the woods on Halloween night, exploring an abandoned place that he knew kids would probably be going to? It doesn't make any sense. As for the people inside the mine, it could have been other kids, or someone working with the man in the woods. We got really lucky, though, to have turned around and left when we did, because even 10 seconds later, that man could have been at the entrance, blocking our only way out, and forcing us further into the tunnel.
Alright guys. Alright, that was it. I think those are pretty good ones, you know. I think my favorite one was... I think the first one. I really liked the first one. You know, keep your door locked. That guy, I don't know. He left the door open for some people to come get candy. Like, no, bro, just lock your door and have people knock. Alright, guys. So again, we don't none of this content. This was by MJV Animations. His link to his channel will be down in the description, guys. Alright, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Remember, guys, 300 subscribers, and we will go explore Govan. Come on, guys, we're so close. We're at 268. 268, guys. So come on, guys. Alright, guys, thank you so much for watching, and alright, guys, peace out.